Hello everyone, so welcome to today's video. So what we're going to be focusing on today is how to tattoo fake skins for beginners. Whenever you are first starting out, fake skins could be the easiest way to try to learn and kind of get all the fundamentals down without jumping into, messing up your buddies or messing up your skin. So I'm going to break down exactly, how long it takes for my stencil to dry on fake skins, what kind of things I use, what voltage I use, the machine I use, because it is different than tattooing on real skin. The brand of fake skins I use, I'm going to go over that, and all the little tips and tricks that I could give you to try to make tattooing on fake skin easy as possible so you can grow so much faster. All right, let's get into it. How to tattoo fake skins for beginners. These are some of the ones I've done in the past, and this was my first time tattooing fake skins this year. So I really didn't know anything whenever I first started tattooing them. I just kind of used the knowledge I had for tattooing and incorporated it into the fake skin. So it is a little bit different. I'm going to tell you what is different about it, explain what I had trouble with, and what I found to help out with these issues along the way. So first thing we're going to do is get ready. I found this little piece of fake skin that I had laying around, so we're going to work with this. So first thing, we're going to talk about the stencil. I have this stencil ready to go. With the actual stencil stuff that I use, I like green gold. When it comes to this, a couple other stencil stuffs out there could be like super thin. It's really hard to get the stencil on here. So I like green gold. It's thick. It takes a while to dry, so that's one thing you want to think about. So we'll get some of that right here, and we will put it on the fake skin. I'm just kind of like rubbing it in right here. And I don't want a ton on there because it'll take 16 days to dry. I know I'm wearing gloves, but I don't want this stencil stuff, this blue stuff, to get all over my hands, because you'll see it in the videos in 3 months from now. It's impossible to get off and it gets everywhere. So that's why I'm wearing gloves. Awesome, so we're just gonna lay a light layer over top of this real quick, and then we're going to press our stencil down. When I press it down, I'm gonna let it sit there for a couple seconds. I'll show you how I do that. Making sure it's in the middle, and just pressing down on it. I'm letting it sit there for a couple seconds just to make sure it's picking up the full stencil. All of that good stuff, just kind of like I would on an actual human being. And we're gonna pick this up. So the stencil looks perfect. That's exactly how you want it to look whenever you are first making your stencils. If it's lighter than that, I definitely recommend going back in and doing it again. You could just wipe it off with a paper towel and go back over it again. Now here's a big key point with tattooing fake skins. You want to make sure that you are letting them dry. If you went in and tried to tattoo this right now, it would smear everywhere. I'll kind of show you on the corner, like it just completely wiped away that stencil up there. So you want to make sure you're giving it time to dry. I'll even pat it down to get all the residual stencil stuff off of it so it doesn't have the ability to smear. So I'll get the outsides over it, pat it down one good time to help with the drying and everything. So after that, let it dry for 3 hours, then you could come back and get back into it. Okay, so I have 2 more stencils set out just to kind of show you a little bit more about like how light the stencils can be and how blurry they can get. If you use a lot of stencil stuff, they kind of get blurry like this one. So you want to stay away from trying to use too much, and then if you go too light, it'll be really faint. But this one you can tattoo with. If you are first starting out, I try to get a perfect stencil if you can. So maybe getting used to trying it out a couple different times until you could actually get a perfect stencil. And also, before you go into tattooing fake skins, one key point would be you want to make sure that you're wrapping up your whole station, wrapping up your machine, all of these things, so you can get used to setting up and tattooing like you're going to on a client. You want to do everything you can to set up, tattoo, everything like you would be doing on a client, so you have the muscle memory to do so. Awesome. The reason I'm not setting up that way is because I'm not going to actually tattoo these designs on video. I have a video coming out of me tattooing a rose on actual fake skins that go into detail showing you exactly how to do that. This video is just the tips and tricks to help you better tattoo on fake skins, and if you've never done it before, these are the steps you need to take before starting out actually tattooing them. When you first get your stencil done, you let it dry, everything's ready to go. One thing you want to think about would be making sure that you are tattooing like it's on actual skin. So what I mean by that would be stretching the skin. If this was a human being, you need to stretch the skin in order to create a good tattoo. So just getting used to that, setting up so you have your gloves on and holding it kind of like you would stretch out human skin. And if you need an anchor point, you could do it that way. for extra stability. All of those things will help you out whenever you do actually start tattooing on human beings, because you already have all the fundamentals down and know exactly what to do jumping onto that point. As with every tattoo that you do, you want to make sure that you are starting from the bottom. So whenever you start from the bottom, it gives you the ability to not smear your whole stencil as you're going, because if you start up here, and working down, you're going to smear all this stuff going down. So starting at the bottom gives you, the ability to stretch out the skin, doing everything you need to without smearing your stencil pretty much everywhere, which with the stencils, that is your whole basis of the tattoo. If you don't have a stencil, you're going to get really nervous and not really know where to go from there and where the line work should be. So keeping care of your stencil is definitely a big key point to try to think about when you're first starting out. Okay, when you actually get into the tattoo, you've taken your time to try to get comfortable, stretching out, having all your anchor points, getting comfortable with your machine, then you could actually start getting into tattooing. You want to make sure that you have your plastic wrapped down over your desk, everything wrapped up, and your ink caps out. So I recommend whenever you first start tattooing fake skins, that you use black and gray. So, have your black and gray out. I use a straight black, then I'll use 10 drops black and then distilled water, then 6 drops black distilled water, 3 drops black distilled water, and then just a water cap. That's how I set up for pretty much every black and gray tattoo that I do. Depending on how big the ink caps are, of course. I use medium ink caps, and that's the drops that I use. So if I'm using bigger ones, it'll change, but that is for the medium ink caps. Okay, when you're working on your needle depth, you want to make sure that you're trying to go as consistent as possible. If you let your needle hang out, you won't be, riding on the tube on the actual fake skin. You'll be hovering it over just slightly. So you want to make sure you're getting used to going the appropriate depth in these fake skins, and they are pretty thick. So you don't have to worry about, drilling through it and hitting, your desk or anything like that. And if you are, then you're going way too deep. Now, one way to tell if you're going too deep in fake skin will be looking at the back of your fake skin. So if you could clearly see that it cut straight through it, that means you're going too deep in the actual fake skin. So as you could see right here, if you bend it, I went too deep in this one just to show you guys that it just cuts straight through. That's what you want to stay away from. If you're doing that, then your machine's hitting too hard, which is possible if you're using like a direct drive machine, like a pen style or something like that. It gives a lot of trauma to these fake skins and it could rip it up. But you want to focus on not going too deep so it doesn't rip straight through it. And you also want to focus on not going too light. So if you're going into the fake skin and there's barely any lines showing up or it's just not saturated, that means that you're not going deep enough in the actual fake skins. So getting used to that and doing little lining techniques to help you out, like, print off straight lines and stencil those onto here and just work on doing straight lines, work on doing circles. Those will all help you be able to tattoo fake skins and in turn help you tattoo people someday. And when you actually start on the design, work on just your line work. Just work on line work for a while until you can build up the confidence and have all the muscle memory down for that. And then you could jump onto something different. Trying to focus on all three things like lining, shading, and color at once can really affect the way that you're growing, because there's too much information at once and it's really hard to try to focus on getting perfect at one thing. So once you're done with that, you'll be jumping on to shading. So with shading, obviously you would have a shading cartridge on here. When you're shading this stuff, that's what really feels the closest to real skin. Just the way that it reacts to it and everything. It just feels really natural, especially from me, who's tattooed on real people for years and years and years, and then just first starting out trying to tattoo this stuff, which it is quite a bit different, but the shading's really close. So awesome. So when you get into your shading, you always want to try to start up close to the line, and then when you're shading, it goes straight up to that line, and then just whipping it out or using your pendulum shading to build up the tones in this actual fake skin. Now, one thing you really need to think about is this fake skin is a whole lot different than real skin. What I mean by that is the ink likes to stick to it. It doesn't wipe off very well. So when you're done with your line work, the best trick I could give you for tattooing this stuff would be make sure you are using Vaseline. You can wipe it down and then wipe it off with a paper towel. That way it keeps the area clean, and I use a ton of Vaseline when I'm tattooing these, way more than I would on an actual client. So I set up my station with a ton of it starting out, so I don't have to go back and get more throughout the tattoo, because it could be annoying switching out gloves. So make sure you have enough Vaseline, use that to clean it, and then before I start my actual shading, I will wipe a clean layer a very thin layer of Vaseline over the whole thing. That helps it kind of stay clean, which helps you tattoo it a little bit better. So once you are done with your actual shading of this design, that's when your design will be done. It's going to look really messy. There's going to be ink all over this actual fake skin. So one thing that I do, and the biggest trick I could tell you in this video, would be wipe it completely down with Vaseline. I put quite a bit on here, and that's how I get to clean my designs to look like I did at the beginning of the video. You know, they're nice and clean. You can clearly see the design and there's not ink smears everywhere. So, you know, some people use their distilled water and soap. Other people use different things, but the best thing I could tell tattooing these this year would be make sure you're just using Vaseline. That's one thing that helps. I use a dry paper towel, Vaseline, and then just do it lightly. If you do it like really hard, it could really rip up this fake skin, so make sure you're doing it light. And the last tip I want to touch base on in this video would be the type of fake skins that I use. I've tried out quite a few of them, the ones on Amazon, different ones, the Pound of Flesh, tons of different ones, and this is the company that I like the most. And by no means am I sponsored by them. This is my honest opinion. This is the closest thing to actual real people skin that I have found on the market. Other ones are super plasticky. They feel really weird, and it's like trying to, you know, tattoo through a wooden board or something like that. These are really great. They're not exactly like real skin. It's physically impossible to find something that's exactly the same, but you could build up everything you need to know tattooing these and become a great tattoo artist focusing on tattooing these first. It's a great way to grow really fast in this industry because you don't have to wait on clients. You don't have to worry about, you know, having your clients come in, making the designs for them. You could focus strictly on getting all the fundamentals down, and you don't have to worry about messing them up. That's a great thing, and I wish they had these when I first started. So yeah, definitely get your hands on some of these. Thank you for sticking along to this video, and I hope this was able to help you out be able to tattoo fake skins for beginners. Like I said, I'm coming out with a video about tattooing a rose on actual fake skin. So if you like content like that and want to see that video in the future, all you have to do is like and subscribe down below.